Hi. So, Miscrits is back and has been for, oh my god, it's been 8 months. Originally known as Miscrits World of Adventure, it was an old Pokemon-style game that was developed by Broken Bulb Studios and was released as a Facebook game back in 2010 and was one of the more popular games to come out during that Facebook era, alongside such classics as Ninja Saga, Backyard Monsters, and Pet Society. Damn, I'm old. The game had 3 areas where the player can search and capture various Miscrits and fight several NPCs in those areas, including elemental boss fights. Moving along the years, the game continued to be developed and would later be renamed to Miscrit Sunfall Kingdom, alongside the release of its sibling game, Miscrit Volcano Island, which also introduced 3 new areas, more Miscrits, and even the final boss of the game. Along with the release of Volcano Island, the game was also gearing up for a visual overhaul. It looked better back then. Then the 2 versions would later be merged into one game, Miscrit's World of Creatures. Unfortunately, as the years went on, the game went on a decline where each new Miscrit just power crept the old one. Eventually, around the start of 2017, the game would be shut down as Broken Bulb Studios went bankrupt. And just like that, the game was gone. Until the game was brought back by a team of passionate developers and built the game from the ground up as Miscrits Reborn, a private server that promised to deliver the old Miscrits experience that people enjoyed. Eventually, they even obtained the rights to the official game's IP itself, which meant they can go more public and publish the game on various platforms legally. The game is up on Steam, the Apple App Store, and just recently, Google Play. The best part? The game is cross-platform, meaning you can play Miscrits wherever and whenever you like, and all your progress is saved and shared across every platform you play on. Fast forward a bit, I was laying down, doom scrolling, and then it hit me. Man, how come no one ever made challenge videos on this game? That finally brings us to this video. Can I beat Miscrits while catching as little Miscrits as possible? The rules of this self-imposed challenge are simple. 1. Keep the player rank as low as possible. 2. Once you catch a Miscrit, you can capture the same one multiple times. 3. You can only use unique Miscrits when doing boss fights. You can't have a team of 4 using the same Miscrit. Miscrit variants do not count as the same Miscrit, so you can use the normal variant of a Miscrit and another variant such as Dark, Light, or Blighted. 4. Platinum training is allowed. You can earn Platinum through a multitude of ways for free, and those are the only ways you are allowed to get Platinum. You aren't allowed to buy Platinum to help you in this challenge. 5. You have to beat every NPC boss fight available. At the time of recording, the Moon boss fight was the final boss added. But with the current update, the NPC in the shack was the final boss. But I'm not fighting her in this video because she has a mechanic that forces me to change how I approach this challenge, because she nullifies everything that my other Miscrits that I get here. Like and subscribe if you want a part 2 for this. With these rules in place, and after hitting randomize on the character customization a few times, we finally get into the game. The game opens up with the local forest guard finding us out in the middle of nowhere. The guard for some reason recognizes us despite never meeting each other in our life, and then he proceeds to introduce us to the world of Miscrits. Next, he gives us our starting Miscrit, Flu, after which he proceeds to teach us how to encounter Miscrits by interacting with the environment. A battle begins where we encounter a mandatory Cub Sprout where we are forced to capture it, thus increasing our rank to rank 2. Hey, editing smiles here. I'm recording this section because I found out way later that it's not mandatory to capture that Cub Sprout. During the release of the Moon of Miscria update, they changed how the capture UI works. Before, you could only release the Miscrit after the battle ends, but now you can release them before it ends, thus not registering and not adding to your rank. The game softlocks you a bit from the tutorial, but you can simply bypass it by just closing the game and relaunching, and you have it, a clean rank 1 account with no unwanted captures. That just means I'm stuck with 1 excess ranks that I could have avoided getting. Anyways, back to the video. After which, he then shows us how to train our Miscrits. This is where we get to level them up, give them platinum to add one more bonus stat, enchant their attacks for added effects, and be able to view their grades and their stat growths. He then bids us farewell, and now we can finally begin our run. As you saw earlier, the flute that I got was only a D grade, and his stats are undesirable. Usually for PvE content, grades don't matter much, but since it would be boring for you, yes, you, the viewer, to watch me just get the one Miscrit that I need once, I'll be hunting for perfectly graded Miscrits with their best possible stats. In Flu's case, I want to have his HP, physical attack, and both defenses to be green, while his speed and elemental attack can either be green, white, or red, since Flu specifically doesn't really need those stats. That means I have to hunt for a Flu that have all of these desired stats. So I spent about 30 more minutes trying to find this perfectly suitable Flu, and then I found it. An S-grade Flu with only a white elemental attack. Now I spent another hour just normally training this Flu all the way up to level 20 before attempting the first boss in the area. Now I only did surface level research for this challenge, such as which Miscrits would be best for each section of the game and what moves the bosses can do. What I forgot to pay attention to were the levels the bosses had themselves. So doing the first fight, I kind of found out by accident that I was very over-leveled. Now that the first boss is out of the way, Area 2 of the forest has been opened up, which means brand new Miscrits. All of which aren't really that useful, well, aside from one, but we'll only hunt him when we're stuck on a specific boss. Spending a few more minutes to gain some levels, I went ahead and challenged the second boss. Ha ha ha. After the second boss fight, Area 3 of the forest is now open to us. I spent another hour leveling this Flu all the way to level 30, unlocking his final attack and all of his other moves. During that period, I also hunted for the second edition of the team, Elephana. This Miscrit will be useful for a lot of future bosses, but I'll talk about it more later on in the video, so keep watching, I need those views. We then head on to the third boss of the forest. And then I got my ass handed.
Right, he has a water attack.
Forced to go back to the village, I got Flu healed up, and I also bought a negate potion. This potion removes the elemental weakness of a Miscrit. This only works on single element Miscrits, however, so I came back for round 2 and it wasn't even close. That finally opens the final area of the forest, which also holds the nature elementum. I farmed a few more levels and decided to give it a shot. While it certainly was a good attempt, I just took the time to get Flu all leveled up just to make things a bit more easier on me. Here, you try seeing me get the last bit of XP to push Flu to level 35, but I also got reminded that the Nature Elementum has a full heal move. So I got Flu to level 35 and went ahead with the attempts. It took a couple of attempts trying to figure out how to best beat it with just Flu, until finally, I figured it out. Watch this. With the Nature Elementum's defeat, we gain access to 3 new areas: the Hidden Forest, the Mansion, and the next main area, Mount Gemma, which holds 3 Magicite bosses and the Earth Elementum. But before I take on Mount Gemma, there are 2 Miscrits that I still need to get for the remainder of this challenge. Those 2 can be found within the 2nd floor of the newly opened mansion, and those being Gnarloke, a common lightning Miscrit, and Dark Flutterpat, an epic wind Miscrit. During the hunt for these 2, I also trained that Elephanta we caught earlier. It was getting a bit late, so I closed the game and came back tomorrow. The next day, it was the usual for me. I was just continuously hunting for Gnarlope and Dark Flutterpat until I find one that I can properly use. During my hunt, I've been capturing a lot of Gnarlopes in hopes of getting some with stats that I can use for the breeding section of the game. Now let me walk you through it. This is Brash,
Hello.
the Miscrit breeder. You see, breeding in Miscrits isn't the same as other games where you take 2 things and hope they produce an offspring.
Huh?
Here, you take 3 Miscrits to sacrifice and hope to produce a Miscrit that has the best inherited stats from those 3 Miscrits. The result will always be one of the 3 Miscrits used in the breeding process. It can't be anything other than those 3 Miscrits. This feature is more important for the arena part of the game, but we're not gonna delve too deep into why, since it's not really important. What matters is that we now have another way to try and get a Miscrit with the best stats for this challenge. So in short, breeding is basically gambling. This was basically the cycle I went through for a few hours. Hunt Gnarlope and Dark Flutterpat, capture them, realize they were shit, go to Brash, breed them, they're still shit, rinse and repeat till I lose them, and go back to hunting. It truly is a cruel world out here. But with enough perseverance, you'll eventually get what you're looking for. And that's what I got, an S-grade Gnarlope with white speed. Perfectly usable for this challenge. That just leaves us with Dark Flutterpat. This took many more hours, but I also got Elephanta and Gnarlope to level 35, while still not finding a single usable Dark Flutterpat. During that period, I was also doing breeds, and they were still shit. Getting Elephanta and Gnarlope to max level, I decided to set foot on Mount Gemma, ready to take on the Magicite bosses. Now, here's why Elephanta was so important at the beginning. It's because of a move it has, Pollen. Pollen reduces the accuracy on the opponent by 10. For Magicite bosses on Gemma, you can only do this once, because if their accuracy falls even further, they'll use a move that restores their accuracy while reducing your own. But only once is enough for us, so the strategy is very simple. Lead with Elephanta, do Pollen, spam Acid, a move that reduces the opponent's elemental defense by a large amount. After spamming it until Elephanta dies, we can use Gnarlope to easily 3-shot the first boss. The second boss goes down in a similar fashion, but with Flu coming in earlier to spam Debilitate, another defense lowering move. Then we just 1-shot with Gnarlope. However, on the third boss, we can't rely on the defense lowering strategy, because if its defense becomes lower than 20, they will use a super buff which also increases their accuracy and all of their stats by a large amount, effectively cancelling our setup. But we can just use 1 Pollen and 1 Acid and just rely on our raw damage. Luckily, our damage is still pretty good without it. Now we hit the run's first roadblock, the Earth Elementum. The Earth Elementum fight is a really simple one. He has an attack that will one-shot your Miscrit regardless if they have the elemental advantage. A move that will trap your Miscrit, preventing any type of switches while also applying Switch Curse, a damage over time effect that will increase in damage to a cap if the Miscrit isn't switched out. Finally, a move that boosts its defense by an insane amount, and should it use it again and again, the Earth Elementum becomes... It'll come to a point where your attacks will deal 2 to 1 damage. Luckily for us, he is very susceptible to accuracy reduction.
Pocket sand!
And a lot of damage over time effect bypass defenses. Lastly, he is the only elemental boss at the time of recording that doesn't have negate, meaning he will take increased damage from wind Miscrits. This is why I've been trying to get Dark Flutterpat. It's a very strong wind Miscrit that also has access to bleed, a damage over time effect that has its damage and duration stack as long as it's being kept applied and as long as the opponent doesn't heal. The path to victory is very clear to us. Lead with Elephana, spam Pollen to reduce the Earth Elementum's accuracy, and use Dark Flutterpat as our main damage dealer. So we go back to the hunt. And we just kept at it for a few more hours until finally, I've managed to find one. And I wasn't recording.
I wasn't even recording? Oh, man. Well, that's just perfect. That's just... Well, no use in crying over spilled milk.
Regardless, we have the Miscrit now, so time to make some progress. Getting Dark Flutterpat all the way to level 30 and gave the Earth Elementum a shot. With the Earth Elementum down, 2 more areas have been opened to us, the Caves of Mists and Sunfall Shores. Well, there is the shack, but that doesn't exist yet when I recorded this footage, and I'm not delaying this video any further than it should. I decided to take on Sunfall Shores first. Complete the Sunfall Kingdom map, you know, why not? Let's see how our team performs. Alright, just 3 bosses left. First up on the chopping block is the Wind Elementum, the hardest Elementum so far, since his fight is very much reliant on RNG, more so than the Earth Elementum. Now I could show you here the attempts that it took, how much I really struggled, but this video is taking too long and then there's like 2 more bosses left. Let's just move on to the winning attempt. Okay, down in 2 attempts. Kinda actually expected it to be harder than that. Anyways, that means we're down to 2 bosses. One of them being in the Cave of Mists. That would be Elena. Now, I've only fought Elena way back when during the Cave of Mists' original release, so I really forgot what she does. It did take a few attempts trying to figure out what she can hit me with, but our team was sufficient enough to handle her. Huh? It's pronounced Elena? Not Elena? Okay. Alright, playtime is over. The next boss is the real deal. With the arrival of the travel agency, the Moon of Miscria was added, and in it had one of the hardest boss fights to be added, Singularitas. What makes this boss fight in particular the hardest? Well, he opens the fight with a super buff that removes his elemental weakness and applies a continuous buff over time effect on himself. That's right, every turn cycle, he will continuously increase all of his stats on top of doing other attacks. One of which hits pretty hard while also applying debuff over time effects on your Miscrits. So not only does he get stronger, your Miscrits will gradually get weaker. Another attack cleanses himself from all debuffs, so you can't do any defense lowering cheese or use damage over time effects on him. Another attack which hits very hard and also heals him on top of that. And lastly, he has an execute attack that will trigger once his health is in the red. Essentially, he is the first damage check boss in the game. If your team can't do enough damage within a period of turns, he will just out damage you whilst your damage to him shrinks even further. But before we even get to go to the moon, we first have to pay a visit to the travel agency, because unlike other areas, we have to pay platinum to get to the moon. Just be thankful that the travel agency doesn't charge you money like in the old days. I'm still a bit short on platinum, but it's pretty easy to get in this version of the game. There's the platinum arena, which I'll only do as little amount as I need since I'm going in there with 3 commons and an epic. I won't be winning most matches there. and the campaign, a far easier method of getting a quick amount of platinum. After a few more days of just grinding platinum, we buy the ticket and finally set foot on the moon. Naturally, my current team isn't good enough. Here's where we finally add in a new member, Foil Visp, an exotic wind miscrit. Now, there's not much of a specific reason why I'm choosing Foil Visp, only that he deals pretty good damage while also being able to heal himself and ramp up his damage at the same time. I'll be replacing Elephana with Foil Visp since it has long served its use in this challenge. Rest well, you flower mammoth, you earned it. That didn't stop me from banging my head against the wall trying to get a perfectly statted Foil Visp. That's right, in case you forgot, I have to find a Foil Visp with its best possible stats for this challenge. And since it's an exotic, I may be stuck here trying to look for it, more so than Dark Flutterpat. But we bite the bullet anyways and continue on. After a couple of days, yes it took that long, I finally got it. Now we can finally try our hands at Singularitas once more. While Foil Visp did prove that he can get us even further, the damage this team can do still isn't enough to take down Singularitas. So I'll have to swap out another Miscrit. In this case, I'll have to bench Flu. So now you're wondering, I'll probably just get a rare or an epic that can push us to that damage that we need, right? I would do that, if I was a coward. This is the last fight I'll do for this challenge. You don't exist. I'm going out in style. I will be hunting for a legendary. And what better legendary to end off this challenge with none other than Blighted Flu. Now hunting legendaries can take a a while, go fuck yourself, but everything will be alright as long as we have the patience and continue hunting. Listen, okay? Cat Bunny is the waifu bait of Miscrits at the moment, okay? Bunnikin isn't even released, so she doesn't count. Fenny is dog shit, okay? It's a thin fucking fox. You can snap its legs like a twig, okay? I don't want to hear that Fenny is better than Cat Bunny, it being a waifu bait, when... That's good, right? We finally found a legendary relatively quick. Well, about that.
Okay, Brash. I need you to be good to me with this, okay? Please. I don't ask much. Just let me have this once. None of my other breeds so far have been good. Just this once, okay? Please. 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 Okay, let's go. This is why I drew you pregnant.
Well, back to the grind it is.
Okay, second flu found. Alright, let's go. Okay, breed it is. Alright, Brash. Please, just be good to me. Just this once. I don't ask much. Okay? What I said before, alright? Just forget about it. Unless you want it, okay? I know you're freaky like that. So, just give me this one time. One time.
After that miracle of a breed, I rushed to get Blighted Flu max level and finally bring down Singularitas. After many hours and days that have passed, Singularitas finally goes down, and that completes this challenge. If you like this video, hit that subscribe button, because I am interested in doing this challenge again with the added bosses soon. Finally give that shack boss a run for its money. Anyways, have a fantastic new year, and I'll see you in the next area.